Welcome to HD Rare Coins, your ultimate source for rare coins, fascinating history, and the thrill of discovery. From legendary pennies to hidden gems, we explore the world of numismatics one amazing coin at a time. In the late summer of 2008, the U.S. Mint in Denver churned out millions of quarter dollars, each bearing the proud emblem of Oklahoma, the 46th state to join the Union. The coin's design was a nod to the state's rugged spirit, a scissor-tailed flycatcher soaring above a field of Indian blanket flowers, framed by the year 1907, marking Oklahoma's statehood. These quarters were part of the 50-state quarters program, a decade-long celebration of America's diversity, with each state immortalized in pocket change. By 2008, the program was nearing its end, and the Mint was producing these coins at a relentless pace. Over 416 million Oklahoma quarters struck in Denver alone. The machinery hummed, dies clashed against planchets, and coins spilled into bins, destined for circulation. But in that frenetic production, something slipped through. A flaw, unnoticed at first, that would turn a humble 25-cent piece into a treasure whispered about in hushed tones among collectors. Picture a collector named Clara, a retired schoolteacher in Tulsa, who spent her weekends sifting through rolls of coins from local banks. Her fingers, calloused from years of sorting, moved with practiced ease, scanning for anything unusual. She'd been at it for years, ever since the state quarters program began in 1999, drawn to the idea that history could be held in her palm. In early 2009, she cracked open a fresh roll of Oklahoma quarters, expecting the familiar bird and flowers. But one coin caught her eye. It wasn't the design, it was the edge. The words E pluribus unum and 2008D were there, as expected, but something was off. The lettering wasn't crisp. It was faint, almost ghostly, as if the edge had been struck twice, the second impression slightly misaligned. Clara's heart quickened. She turned the coin over, inspecting the obverse and reverse. The flycatcher was pristine, the date clear, but that edge, it was wrong. She set it aside, her mind racing. Was this a mistake? A fluke? Or something more? The Oklahoma quarter, like all state quarters, was struck on a cupronickel-clad copper planchet, its edge reeded with inkest lettering. The edge inscriptions were applied in a separate process after the coin's faces were struck, a technique meant to ensure uniformity. But in 2008, the Denver Mint's high-speed production occasionally faltered. A small batch of Oklahoma quarters suffered what numismatists would later call an incomplete edge lettering error. The dies used to impress the edge inscriptions misaligned, creating a double-struck effect, letters overlapping, faint, or partially missing. This wasn't a dramatic error, not like a missing mint mark or a doubled die. It was subtle, easily overlooked by anyone but a keen-eyed collector. Yet its rarity made it significant. Only a handful of these error coins were known to have escaped the Mint's quality control, slipping into circulation like hidden Easter eggs. Clara's discovery set her on a quest. She reached out to a local coin club, her hands trembling as she showed the quarter to a group of seasoned collectors. They pored over it under magnifying glasses, debating its authenticity. One member, a grizzled numismatist named Ed, recognized the error immediately. He'd read about similar mistakes in other state quarters but had never seen one in person. This, he said, his voice low, could be worth something. Clara's excitement was tempered by skepticism. She'd found oddities before, scratched coins, worn dies, but nothing valuable. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that this quarter was different. She began researching, scouring numismatic forums and auction records. The more she learned, the more her pulse raced. These edge lettering errors were rare, and the Oklahoma quarter errors were among the scarcest. Reports suggested fewer than 100 were known, though no one could say for sure. In 2009, the coin's value was modest. A typical Oklahoma quarter was worth its face value, 25 cents. Even in uncirculated condition, it fetched no more than $1 at most coin shops. But error coins were another story. Early auction records showed similar edge lettering errors from other states selling for $50 to $100. Clara's quarter, graded by a professional service as MS-63, was valued at around $75 by a dealer she consulted. Not a fortune, but enough to make her palms sweat. She decided to hold on to it, sensing the story wasn't over. By 2011, whispers of the Oklahoma error began spreading in the numismatic community. Collectors started hunting for them, and prices crept upward. A pristine example sold for $150 at a regional auction, then another for $200. Clara watched the trend, her curiosity morphing into obsession. She began to see her quarter not just as metal but as a piece of history, a fluke that had beaten the odds. The error's physical characteristics were subtle but unmistakable. On a normal quarter, the edge lettering is sharp, the words evenly spaced and deeply inked. On Clara's coin, the letters appeared doubled, as if the edge die had struck the coin twice, with a slight shift between impressions. In some areas, E pluribus looked like a shadow of itself, the letters overlapping in a ghostly blur. The mint mark D was similarly affected, its outline faint and distorted. This wasn't a design flaw but a mechanical one, a glitch in the mint's high-pressure process. The rarity came not from the error's appearance but from its scarcity. Millions of Oklahoma quarters were struck, but only a tiny fraction, perhaps 1 in a million, carried this mistake. The error didn't alter the coin's face, so it blended into circulation, unnoticed by most. For collectors, though, it was a siren call, a chance to own a piece of numismatic lore. As the years passed, the coin's value climbed steadily. By 2015, auction houses reported sales of Oklahoma-era quarters reaching $300 in high grades. Numismatic magazines featured articles on edge lettering errors, fueling demand. Clara, now a regular at coin shows, heard stories of collectors finding similar errors in pocket change, their excitement mirroring her own. She began to wonder if her quarter was more than a lucky find. What if it was one of the finest examples? In 2018, a major auction made headlines when an Oklahoma-era quarter, graded MS-65, sold for $750. The buyer, an anonymous collector, called it a modern rarity. Clara had her coin regraded, and it came back MS-64, just shy of gem quality. Dealers offered her $400 on the spot, but she declined. The coin had become more than money, it was her connection to a hidden world of mistakes and miracles. Then came the twist, one Clara hadn't anticipated. In 2020, a numismatic researcher published a paper suggesting that the Oklahoma edge lettering errors weren't a single type but a spectrum. Some coins, like Clara's, had doubled lettering, but others showed partial inscriptions or even missing letters entirely. The rarest of all, the paper claimed, were coins with a reversed edge error, where the lettering was inked upside down relative to the coin's obverse. This revelation sent shockwaves through the collecting community. Clara re-examined her quarter, her hands trembling as she held it under a loupe. The lettering, she realized, was indeed reversed. She hadn't noticed it before, so focused was she on the doubling. This wasn't just an error coin, it was one of the rarest subtypes. Only a dozen reversed edge Oklahoma quarters were documented, and hers was now among them. The discovery changed everything. By 2023, the market for these ultra-rare variants exploded. A reversed edge Oklahoma quarter sold for $2,500 at a Heritage Auctions event, and rumors swirled of private sales reaching $5,000 for top-grade examples. Clara's coin, now graded MS-64 with the reversed edge designation, was appraised at $3,000, though she suspected it could fetch more. The coin's journey from a 25-cent piece to a numismatic gem mirrored her own transformation, from a casual collector to a steward of a rare artifact. She began attending national coin shows, sharing her story with wide-eyed enthusiasts. Each time she held the quarter, she felt the weight of its history, the mint's oversight, the error's escape, and the slow, suspenseful rise of its value. The coin's allure wasn't just its price but its story. It was a reminder that even in a world of mass production, imperfections could become treasures. Clara often wondered about the others, how many were still out there, tucked in cash registers or lost in couch cushions. The thought kept her searching, not for wealth but for the thrill of discovery. Her quarter, with its faint, reversed letters, was a testament to chance, a tiny rebellion against the mint's precision. And as she turned it over in her hand, she knew its value wasn't just in dollars but in the mystery it held, a mystery that grew with every passing year. In the spring of 2008, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was in the final stretch of the 50-state quarters program, a project that had captured the imagination of collectors and casual coin users alike since 1999. The New Mexico Quarter, celebrating the Land of Enchantment, was the 47th in the series, struck to honor the state's vibrant history and culture. Its design featured the Zia sun symbol, a radiant emblem of four groups of four rays, centered over a topographical outline of the state, with the inscription, Land of Enchantment, below. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 244 million of these quarters, their presses running day and night to meet demand. Each coin was struck on a cupronickel-clad copper planchet, its edge inked with the motto E pluribus unum and the year 2008 p. But amid the roar of machinery and the flood of coins, a small error crept through, a mistake so subtle it went unnoticed by quality control, destined to spark a frenzy among those who hunt for rarities. Meet Javier, a young mechanic from Albuquerque who collected coins as a hobby, a passion inherited from his grandfather. In late 2008, he stopped by his local credit union to pick up a few rolls of quarters for laundry. Back home, he sat at his kitchen table, sifting through the coins as he always did, hoping for something out of the ordinary. Most were standard New Mexico quarters, their sun symbols gleaming under his desk lamp. But one coin felt different. He tilted it, examining the edge. The lettering was there, 2008 p. E pluribus unum, but it wasn't right. The word seemed smeared, as if the edge had been struck off-center, creating a faint, distorted shadow of the text. Javier's pulse quickened. He flipped the coin to check the obverse and reverse. The Zia symbol was flawless, George Washington's portrait crisp. Yet that edge told a different story. He set the coin aside, a mix of curiosity and doubt swirling in his mind. Was this just a worn coin, or something special? The New Mexico quarter's edge lettering was applied in a secondary process, a technique introduced in 2007 for the presidential dollar coins and later adapted for some state quarters. After the coins' faces were struck, a separate machine inked the edge with text. But in Philadelphia, during the high-volume production of 2008, a small batch of New Mexico quarters suffered an error known as off-center edge lettering. The edge die misaligned, striking the text at an angle, causing the letters to appear shifted or doubled. This wasn't a glaring defect, like a missing mint mark or a clipped planchet. It was understated, easily missed by anyone not looking closely. Yet its rarity was undeniable. Only a tiny fraction of the millions minted, perhaps a few dozen, carried this error, slipping into circulation like needles in a haystack. That Javier's find sent him down a rabbit hole. He visited a local coin shop, where the owner, a wiry man named Rosa, examined the quarter with a loupe. Her eyes widened. "This is something," she said, her voice tinged with excitement. She explained the edge lettering error, rare even among other state quarters. Javier's skepticism gave way to a spark of hope. He'd found odd coins before, scratched or misstruck, but none had mattered. This one felt different. He dove into online forums, where collectors swapped stories of similar errors. Posts about the New Mexico quarter were scarce, but one thread mentioned a 2008 p error coin selling for $80 at a small auction. Javier's heart raced. He wasn't rich, but the idea that his 25-cent find could be worth more, much more, lit a fire in him. He decided to keep the coin, sensing it held a story yet to unfold. That in 2008, a standard New Mexico quarter was worth exactly its face value, 25 cents. Uncirculated examples might fetch $1 in a coin shop. But error coins were a different breed. Early reports of edge lettering errors on other state quarters had collectors buzzing, with prices ranging from $30 to $100 for minor errors. Javier's coin, graded MS-62 by a professional service in 2009, was valued at $65. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was enough to make him wonder. He held on to it, checking auction results every few months. By 2010, the market for state quarter errors was heating up. A New Mexico error quarter sold for $120, then another for $150. Collectors were waking up to the rarity of these coins, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, where fewer errors were reported than from Denver. Javier's coin, tucked in a safe deposit box, became his secret obsession, the error's physical traits were deceptively simple. On a typical quarter, the edge lettering is precise, the text evenly spaced and deeply inked. On Javier's coin, the lettering was shifted, with E pluribus appearing to bleed into itself, the letters misaligned by a fraction of a millimeter. The P mint mark was partially doubled, its outline faint and skewed. This off-center strike didn't affect the coin's faces, which made it easy to overlook in circulation. But to collectors, it was a goldmine, a rare glitch in a sea of uniformity. The New Mexico quarter's error was scarcer than most, with estimates suggesting fewer than 50 examples existed. Its subtlety only added to its allure, a hidden flaw that demanded a trained eye to spot. By 2013, the coin's value was climbing. Auction records showed New Mexico era quarters fetching $250 in MS-63 condition. Numismatic blogs began featuring the coin, calling it a sleeper hit among state quarter errors. Javier, now a regular at regional coin shows, heard tales of collectors finding errors in change, their stories echoing his own. He started to see his quarter as more than a curiosity, it was a piece of history, a survivor of the mint's relentless production line. In 2016, a pristine MS-65 example sold for $600, sparking a wave of interest. Javier had his coin regraved, and it came back MS-63, a solid grade but not top tier. Offers came in, $300, then $400, but he turned them down. The coin had become a part of him, a reminder of the thrill of discovery, then came the revelation that changed everything. In 2019, a numismatic journal published an article on edge lettering errors, revealing a subset of New Mexico quarters with a previously undocumented twist. Some coins had inverted edge lettering. Unlike the off-center error, where the text was merely shifted, these coins had their edge inscriptions stamped upside down relative to the obverse. Javier's stomach dropped as he read the article. He retrieved his coin and examined it under a magnifying glass, his hands shaking. The lettering, he realized, was indeed inverted. He'd missed it, so focused on the off-center error that he hadn't checked the orientation. This wasn't just a rare coin, it was one of the rarest, with only a handful of inverted-edge New Mexico quarters known to exist. The discovery rewrote the coin story. By 2021, the market for inverted-edge errors was on fire. An MS-64 example sold for $1,800 at a major auction, and rumors circulated of private sales topping $3,000. Javier's coin, regraded as MS-63 with the inverted edge designation, was appraised at $2,200. He could have sold it, paid off debts, or bought a new car, but he hesitated. The coin was more than money, it was a connection to a world of chance and rarity. At coin shows, he shared his find with fellow collectors, their eyes lighting up as he described the inverted lettering. The coin's value kept rising, with a 2024 auction seeing an MS-65 inverted edge quarter fetch $4,500. Javier's coin, still MS-63, was now valued at $3,000, but he suspected it could climb higher. The New Mexico quarter's journey from pocket change to collector's gem was a tale of serendipity. Its error, a quiet rebellion against the mint's precision, made it a symbol of the unexpected. Javier often wondered about the other coins, how many were still out there, jingling in cash drawers or forgotten in jars. The thought kept him searching, not for profit but for the rush of finding something extraordinary. His quarter, with its inverted, off-center lettering, was a testament to imperfection, a tiny flaw that had defied the odds. As he held it, he felt the weight of its history, the mint's oversight, the error's escape, and the slow, suspenseful rise of its worth, a story that grew richer with every passing year. Javier's fascination with the New Mexico quarter grew deeper as he delved into its origins, piecing together the circumstances that birthed its rare error. The Philadelphia Mint in 2008 was a hive of activity, producing not only the state quarters but also other denominations under tight deadlines. The 50 state quarters program, nearing its conclusion, had become a cultural phenomenon, with collectors and everyday Americans alike saving each new design. The New Mexico quarter, released in April 2008, was struck with precision, its Zia sun symbol chosen to reflect the state's Native American heritage and vibrant landscapes. But the edge lettering process, a relatively new addition to U.S. coinage, was prone to occasional glitches. The machinery, designed to handle millions of coins, sometimes misaligned, especially during long production runs. Javier learned that the inverted and off-center edge lettering on his coin likely occurred during a late-night shift, when a tired operator or a worn die went unchecked, allowing a small batch of flawed coins to slip through. His journey as a collector took on new intensity. Javier began attending more coin shows, traveling as far as Santa Fe and even Denver to connect with numismatists who specialized in errors. At one show in 2020, he met a retired mint employee who offered a rare glimpse into the chaos of 2008 production. The man described how edge lettering machines, still a novel technology, occasionally jammed or misfed, creating errors that were often caught but sometimes escaped. Javier's coin, with its inverted and off-center lettering, was a double anomaly, a product of not one but two mechanical failures. This revelation made him see his quarter as a survivor, a relic of human and mechanical imperfection. He started carrying it to shows in a protective case, showing it off to gasps and murmurs. Each time he explained its story, he felt a surge of pride, as if he were its guardian. The coin's value continued its upward climb, driven by the growing scarcity of high-grade examples. By 2022, the numismatic market was buzzing with stories of state quarter errors, and the New Mexico inverted edge variety was a standout. Auction records showed an MS-65 example selling for $5,200, a price that stunned Javier. He began tracking sales obsessively, noting how condition and provenance affected value. His MS-63 coin, while not flawless, was pristine enough to command respect. Dealers offered him $3,500 at a 2023 show, but he declined, sensing the market wasn't done rising. The coin's rarity was amplified by its obscurity. Most people, even collectors, didn't check edge lettering, so many errors likely remained undiscovered, circulating unnoticed. This thought kept Javier awake at night, wondering how many other inverted edge quarters were out there, waiting to be found. The physical characteristics of the error were a study in subtlety. The Zia sun symbol and Washington's portrait were untouched, their details sharp and unmarred. But the edge told a different tale. The lettering, meant to be uniform, was a quiet chaos. Letters tilted, E pluribus unum, shifted so that the E sat slightly above the rest, and the P mint mark doubled, its ghostly outline barely visible. The inversion was the real kicker. When Javier held the coin with Washington's head upright, the edge text read upside down, a detail so easy to miss yet so significant. This double error, off-center and inverted, made his quarter a unicorn in the numismatic world. Experts estimated fewer than 20 such coins existed, and Javier's was among the finest known, its surfaces free of scratches or wear. Then came another twist, one that deepened the coin's mystique. In 2024, a numismatic researcher uncovered evidence that the New Mexico inverted edge errors might be linked to a specific die pair at the Philadelphia Mint, used for only a single day before being replaced. This die, the researcher claimed, was improperly calibrated, causing both the inversion and the off-center strike. The discovery narrowed the error's origin to a tiny window of production, making the coins even rarer than previously thought. Javier's coin, already a prize, became a potential key to this mystery. He submitted it to a top grading service for re-examination, and the results confirmed it. His quarter matched the die characteristics described in the study. It wasn't just a rare error, it was a piece of a specific, fleeting moment in mint history, a snapshot of a machine's misstep. The market responded swiftly. By early 2025, inverted edge New Mexico quarters were the talk of the numismatic world. A coin from the same die pair, graded MS-66, sold for $7,800 at a major auction, setting a record. Javier's MS-63, now tied to this historic die, was appraised at $4,500, with some dealers whispering it could fetch $6,000 in the right sale. He began to see his coin not just as a collector's item but as a legacy. He imagined passing it to his daughter one day, along with the story of how a 25-cent coin from a laundry roll became a treasure. At coin shows, he met collectors who'd spent years searching for similar errors, their envy palpable. Yet Javier felt no urge to sell. The coin's value was more than its price, it was the thrill of its discovery, the unraveling of its secrets, and the community it connected him to. The New Mexico quarters era transformed it from pocket change to a numismatic legend. Its inverted, off-center lettering was a quiet defiance of the mint's precision, a reminder that even in a world of automation, mistakes could create miracles. Javier often wondered about the other coins from that fateful die pair. Were they in circulation, passed over in grocery stores or vending machines? Or were they locked away in collections, their owners unaware of their true significance? The uncertainty fueled his passion, driving him to keep searching, not just for profit but for the joy of uncovering the unexpected. His quarter, with its misaligned, upside-down letters, was a testament to chance, a small, imperfect marvel that had rewritten his life. As he turned it over in his hand, he felt the weight of its journey, a story that grew richer with every new clue, every auction, every shared glance among collectors who understood its magic.